I've been a Toronto real estate agent for over 9 years. I've helped hundreds of people move to this city, and every single time, without fail, there are things that catch people completely off guard after they get here. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 of them. And stick around because one of them is actually a really good surprise that could save you over $10,000 a year. This way you can move to Toronto knowing exactly what you're walking into. Every week, people just like you reach out to me after watching these videos. They're planning a move to Toronto and they want someone who actually knows this city to help them navigate it. If that's you, my Calendly link is in the description. Book a free call and let's talk. Now, let's get into the video. Thing number 1, the double land transfer tax. The first thing nobody tells you, and this one is purely financial, so pay attention. When you buy a home in Toronto, you don't just pay one land transfer tax. You pay 2. Every province in Ontario charges a land transfer tax when you buy a property. That's normal. Most people expect that, but what most people don't expect is that the City of Toronto charges its own separate municipal land transfer tax on top of the provincial one. Toronto is the only city in Ontario that does this. So what does that actually mean in dollars? Well, on a $900,000 home, which is pretty close to the Toronto average right now, you're looking at roughly $16,000 in provincial land transfer tax, and then another $13,000 in municipal land transfer tax on top of that. So nearly $30,000 in land transfer taxes alone before you've paid your lawyer, your home inspector, or anything else. Now, if you're a first-time buyer, there is a rebate on both, so you do get some of that back, but it doesn't come close to nearly covering the full amount. And a lot of people don't find out about the double land transfer tax until they're already deep in the buying process and the lawyer hands them the closing cost breakdown. The lesson here is simple. When you're budgeting for a Toronto purchase, build in 3 to 4% of the purchase price for closing costs. Don't just budget for the down payment and assume that the rest will take care of itself. Thing number 2, finding a family doctor is harder than finding a home. And this one surprises almost everyone. Finding a family doctor in Toronto is genuinely hard. Harder than you'd expect in a major world-class city. Toronto has a real physician shortage. When people move here from smaller cities or from outside Canada, they assume they'll just find a GP the same way they find a dentist. Google it, call, book an appointment. That's not how it works here. The reality is there are waiting lists. Some people spend a year or longer trying to get accepted by a family doctor. And I'm not just talking about newcomers. I have friends and family who were born and raised in the city and still don't have a family doctor. I got lucky, mine's great, but that's genuinely not the norm right now. In the meantime, you're relying on walk-in clinics for anything that comes up. And while they work fine for certain things, they're not a substitute for a doctor who actually knows your history. And good luck if you ever have to go to the ER for something that isn't critical or life-threatening. I've personally been many times and in some cases waited 7 or 8 hours for the whole process to be done. You're not dying, so you're not the priority. That's just the reality of a stretched system. Now here's something nobody really talks about. Healthcare in Toronto is technically free and public, equal access for everyone, right? But in reality, there's almost a hidden 2-tier system. Wait times to see a specialist can be really brutal sometimes. It can be months, even years in some cases. But if you happen to know someone in the medical system, a friend, a family member who's a doctor or works in healthcare, those wait times have a way of getting bumped down significantly. It's not like the US where you pay for faster service. Here, the currency is who you know. It's a public system that's supposed to be equal, but in practice, it doesn't always work out that way. My advice, before you even move, go to the Ontario Health website and register on the Healthcare Connect waitlist. It matches you with a family doctor who's accepting patients in your area. It doesn't guarantee anything immediately, but it gets you in the system. Don't wait until you're already here and suddenly need one. Thing number 3, you don't actually need a car, and that's kind of amazing. Here's the one genuine surprise on the list. If you pick the right neighborhood in Toronto, you actually don't need a car. And I know that sounds like something every city claims, but Toronto genuinely delivers on it in a way that most cities don't. Honestly, the only city I've been to that I'd say gives Toronto a run for its money on walkability is New York. That's the level we're talking about. I love walking down to St. Clair. It's about 15 minutes from our house, and there are a ton of great restaurants and coffee shops. My wife and I have a mini doodle named Rosie, and we walk her all over the neighborhood constantly. We honestly know the other dogs' names better than the owners in some cases. So if you're a dog person, you're gonna absolutely love this city. If you live anywhere central, you're within a 5 to 10 minute walk of great food, shopping, and coffee. It's one of those things that genuinely improves your quality of life in a way that you don't fully appreciate until you're living it. The TTC covers a lot of the city, and the streetcar network fills in the gaps downtown. If you're in Midtown, downtown, or along any of the major subway corridors, you can realistically live your entire life, groceries, work, restaurants, without ever getting behind the wheel of a car. But do expect frequent delays and shutdowns from the TTC. It can be a real pain sometimes. If you land outside the core, the calculus completely changes. North York, Scarborough, Richmond Hill, anywhere in the suburbs, a car is not optional. It's necessary. And I'll be honest, to me, the suburbs feel a bit copy and pasted. The same big box stores, the same supercenters, the same chains repeated over and over. Parking is easier, sure, but it's a bit bland compared to what you get closer to the city. That's just my personal take. And if you do end up needing a car, Toronto traffic will test your patience in ways you're not ready for. The 401 east to west is backed up basically every single morning without fail. So the lesson is simple. Your neighborhood choice directly determines whether you need a car in Toronto. And that single decision could save you or cost you over $10,000 a year. Figure out transit access before you pick where you live, not after. True or false? Toronto has the highest property tax rate of any major city in Ontario. The answer is false, and it might actually surprise you. Toronto has one of the lowest property tax rates in Ontario as a percentage. The catch is that because home values are so high, the actual dollar amount on your tax bill still feels significant. On a $1 million home, you're paying roughly $3,000 to $4,000 a year in property tax. Lower rate, higher bill. That's Toronto in a nutshell. Thing number 4, the condo fee math nobody does. And this one is specifically for anyone considering buying a condo, which is the entry point for most people moving to Toronto. When people calculate what they can afford, they look at the purchase price, they calculate the mortgage payment, and sometimes they stop there. But what they don't factor in, or don't factor in properly, are the condo maintenance fees. Condo fees in Toronto are based on price per square foot. For a 1-bedroom, you'd say typically between $500 and $700 a month. Some buildings are higher, some are lower, and that fee covers building maintenance, the amenities, the reserve fund contributions, essentially the cost of running the building. Now here's the math that changes everything. If your condo fee is $600 a month, that's $7,200 a year. Over a 5-year period, that's $36,000 on top of your mortgage that you've paid and built zero equity from. It's a real cost that doesn't show up on your mortgage calculator. The practical impact is that a $550,000 condo with a $650 monthly fee might actually cost you more per month than a $600,000 townhome with no fee at all. Always do that comparison before you decide what you can afford, and always ask what the condo fee is and what it covers before you get emotionally attached to a unit. Now here's something I feel strongly about, and it comes from both personal experience and from watching my dad, who is a property manager for over 40 years. A lot of times, you are genuinely better off with an older building. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Everyone wants the shiny new building with the rooftop terrace and the pool and the brand new shiny gym. But with an older building, you can actually look at the history of the maintenance fees year over year. You can see how they've moved, whether they've been managed responsibly, whether the reserve fund is healthy. With newer buildings, you're flying a bit blind. And some of these newer builds, paper thin walls, sliding glass doors instead of actual bedroom doors, layouts that feel like they were designed to fit as many units as possible into a project rather than for anyone to actually live in. I have some listings in a relatively new building right now where the maintenance fees jumped over $200 in the first 2 years alone. That's a real killer for your monthly budget and for resale value when the time comes to sell. Those were on 1-bedrooms, for example. Older buildings also tend to offer better, more practical layouts, more square footage, a significantly better price per square foot. Don't automatically chase new. Do your homework on the building's financials first. Some buildings also have a history of special assessments where the board decides the reserve fund isn't enough and charges all owners a lump sum to cover a repair. That's a whole other conversation. When you're buying a condo in Toronto, the building's financials matter almost as much as the unit itself. Thing number 5, your neighborhood picks your lifestyle for you. Last one, and honestly, this might be the most important thing on the list. People research Toronto as one city. They look at the average home price, they look at the commute time, they think about what Toronto is like, but Toronto isn't one city. It's like 5 or 6 completely different cities stacked next to each other. Let me give you some honest takes from someone who actually lives here. Liberty Village is one of my personal favorites for convenience. Everything you need is right there. The one knock is it can feel a little closed off to itself, like its own little bubble. But if you haven't been to Mildred's Temple Kitchen before, you need to go. Genuinely the best pancakes I've ever had in my life. Leslieville is beautiful, there's a huge park, great independent restaurants, a real neighborhood feel, but it is quite far east of the core, and depending on where you work, that commute can add up. Same thing with the Distillery District, stunning old architecture of old Toronto, incredible to visit, one of the most photogenic spots in the entire city. My wife and I actually did some of our wedding photos there on the day of. All the brick backdrops, the cobblestone streets, it's absolutely gorgeous. But actually commuting in and out of there by the TTC is a bit annoying. It is right by the highway though, so if you're driving there, it's actually not that bad. Kensington Market is another one worth mentioning. If you want that hipster, artsy, independent everything vibe, Kensington is your spot. Amazing local food, incredible artists, a real creative energy that you don't find many other places in the city. I'll be honest, I'm probably not cool enough for Kensington on a daily basis. Although I was in a band for over 5 years in Toronto, and we did play a lot of shows around that area, so maybe that buys me a little bit of extra street cred, maybe. And look, there are honestly too many neighborhoods to cover properly in one video. I have a full Toronto Areas Explained video coming where I go through each one in depth because it really does deserve its own breakdown. If you're trying to figure out which part of Toronto actually fits your life, your budget, your commute, your family situation, book a free call using the link in the description. No pressure, no pitch. I just want to help you figure out if Toronto is the right move and where in the city actually makes sense for you specifically. I've helped tons of people move in my 9 years as a realtor. I'm Jordan Abrams. This is Living in Toronto, and I'll see you around town.